Well, I thought it would be fun to have our story at the lake today because our story is about the golden fish. Before we get to our story, I need to change glasses. It is very bright out here. That's better. Once upon a time, there was a very poor couple. They lived in a dirty, run-down little shack that was falling apart. They were very poor and they needed food to eat. So one day the man went to fish. He thought if he could catch a fish, they'd have something for supper that night. He went to the lake and he caught a fish. But it was a golden fish, a little sparkly, and it was large, and it could talk. The fish said, "Oh, kind sir, please throw me back. Let me live. I'm not really a fish. I am an enchanted prince. I am under an evil spell." Well, the fisherman was surprised to see that a fish could talk, let alone that the fish was magical and was really a prince. So he threw the fish back in the water and said, "Go live your life." And he went back home. He went back home and he told his wife all about the magical fish that he had caught. And she said, "You what? You caught a magical fish and you just threw him back in? Don't you know that magical creatures can grant wishes? Go on back there and ask that fish for a gift for us. Tell him we live in this horrible little shack, but we would like to live in a nice, cozy cottage. Go on, go tell him." Well, so the man went back to the lake and he called for the fish. And the fish came swimming up. And the man said, "Hi, listen, my wife says that magical creatures can grant wishes. And, well, we were wondering, we live in this run-down, beat-up little shack, and it's about to fall in on our heads. We'd like to live in a cozy little cottage. Is that possible?" Well, the fish said, "You were very kind to me before, so I will grant you a wish. Go home and enjoy your cottage." The man turned around and he ran back home. And there was a beautiful little cottage. And his wife was standing outside looking at it. And she said, "This is nice. Let's go in." They went in and there was supper on the table waiting for them. So they ate. And the next morning when they got up, the man was barely awake when his wife said, "Wake up. This cottage is nice, but we should have gone bigger. You know what we'd really feel happy in? A mansion. Why don't you go back and ask that fish for a mansion?" So the man went back down to the lake. Wasn't real sure it was the right thing to do, but he called for the fish, and the fish came, and he said, "Excuse me, that cottage was really nice. But my wife wonders if we could have a mansion instead." The fish thought for a minute and said, "Okay, all right, you can have a mansion." "Thank you," said the man. "So kind of you." And he ran back home. And there stood his wife outside looking at a big, beautiful mansion. And they went inside and they had dinner on the table, just magically there. They ate and they went to bed. The next morning when they woke up, the woman nudged her husband and said, "Hey, why didn't we ask for a castle? Wouldn't it be great to have a castle? Go back and tell that fish. We need a castle, really, and, well, and some gold and jewels and just riches to go with it." Okay, the man went back down to the lake. I think he felt a little funny about it because They'd already been given 2 very nice gifts. But he called for the fish, and the fish came up and said, "Do you like your mansion?" And the man said, "It's really nice. It is so nice. But what about a castle? We should have asked for a castle in the very beginning, and riches, so that we would always have dinner at night, and nice clothes to wear, and so forth. Could we have a castle filled with treasure?" Well, the fish didn't say anything for a minute, just looked at the man. And finally the fish said, "Okay, you can have a castle with riches, sure." And so the man went running back, and there was this huge castle, and his wife was dripping in jewels and gold, and they went inside, and servants brought them delicious food for dinner. And they went to bed that night, very happy. But the next morning, they woke up, and what do you think happened? The woman nudged him awake and said, "Hey, this is great, but you know what we don't have really is power. I want to be Empress of the universe. I want to control the sun and the moon and the stars. Go ask the fish." "Aw, come on," said the man. "He's been so kind to us. This is wonderful. We're living in a castle. We'll never want for anything. Look at all these jewels." She just stared at him, and she said, "Nope, you don't know unless you ask. Go ask him." So the man reluctantly went down to the lake and called for the fish, and the fish looked at him, and the man said, "Wow, that castle is great. Thank you. It's wonderful. But my wife would like to be Empress of the universe, and she would like to control the sun and the moon and the stars. Can you do that?" "Go home," said the fish. "Go home and see what is waiting for you. I'm giving you a very special gift." Well, the man went running back home, could not think of what could be a special gift after everything they'd already been given, and there stood his wife, dressed in her tattery old clothes, looking at the same little hovel that they had lived in at the very beginning of the story. And the man said, "But the fish said to come home, said there'd be a gift. He was giving us a gift." The old woman said, "Well, some gift this is. Come on." And they both ran back to the lake to ask the fish what was going on. They got down there, and the man said, "Excuse me, you said you were going to give us a gift, and we don't have anything. We just have that little rundown shack that we started out in." And the fish said, "I did give you a gift. I gave you the gift of humility and gratitude. You should be grateful that you have a roof over your head at all." And the man and woman looked at each other, and they realized they had been very greedy. And the woman apologized, and that takes a very big person to apologize. She said, "I'm so sorry. That first little cottage was perfect for us, and I didn't appreciate it. I am sorry." And the fish said, "It's hard to apologize when you're wrong, but you did, and I forgive you. Go back home and enjoy your cottage." So the man and the woman went back home, and they lived in their cottage and were happy ever after. Isn't it great that the man and the woman learned a good lesson that day, and the fish forgave them and gave them that little cottage that they had first asked for? What do you think this story means?
And now, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All gone.
What doesn't belong? Well, that was fun. See you next time.